Now, disturbing new details in the Oxford, Michigan school shooting case. There were hearings today for both the accused shooter, Ethan Crumbley, and his parents, both of whom are charged as well. 4 students died in the shooting. Here's a little bit of what came out of court today.
He displayed terrifying tendencies and behaviors, and he literally sketched out what he had planned to do in his journal and his drawings. In May of 2021, he was torturing and killing animals. But he kept a severed head from a bird that he had tortured and mutilated in a jar in his room for 6 months.
All right, criminal defense attorney Trent Copeland joined us now. Trent, it's good to see you again. It's always great to have your voice on these legal issues. What do you make of these revelations today? Because those were just some of them. There were additional accounts of Ethan hallucinating, seeing demons or a ghost in the house, and the parents apparently didn't intervene. What do you make of all of this today and how it impacts the trial? And we should point out, this is the case involving the parents, not Ethan, where this came out.
Right. You know, look, Joe, this is always, anytime we hear these sort of stories about young people suffering with delusions or hallucinations or any kind of mental issue, clearly our hearts go out to them. But this is now a criminal case. And this is a case involving parents who allowed their child, who they knew or should have known, had really deep systemic mental issues, access to a loaded weapon. It's not just that they gave him access to that weapon, but they also encouraged it. They bought the weapon for him. And they did this in the context of knowing that he had demons, that there were things he was suffering with, and these parents did very little about it. And the idea that this came out now, at this stage of the case, at this early stage of the case, even before preliminary hearings, even before probable cause hearings, tells us that there is a mountain of evidence, not unlike this, that is likely to come out again in the trial of this matter.
Trent, if they didn't intervene, how important is that to the case? Because we've seen that it's rare. We know it's rare and pretty unusual for parents to get charged in a case of a child's action. What's different in this case?
Well, Joe, you're right. In fact, you're more than just right. It's not rare. It just doesn't happen. I'm not sure that I know of a single case in any jurisdiction in our country where a parent has been charged as a result of the intentional, deliberate acts of a child who, in this instance, committed a horrible act of killing 4 people. So I'm not sure, Joe, whether or not what we're going to see here is going to be indicative of what we've seen throughout the country, and that is, this seminal case, this case without much precedent, whether or not these parents will truly be found guilty remains to be seen, because it is an extraordinarily unusual case with extraordinarily unusual legal tentacles, and I'm not sure, and look, there's a reasonable basis to assume that the prosecutors may have overreached here. But what's unusual about this case is that the parents knew, and the parents encouraged, and the parents not encouraged the killing necessarily, but they encouraged the access to the weapon. And they knew that in the context of their child going to school, being concerned about their child, obviously we would presume that their child had some sort of mental issues.
Right. I guess my question, as I thought about it today, Trent, was it's not illegal, unfortunately, to be a bad parent. But there are legal implications with this.
Look, it's not illegal to be a bad parent, but what it is illegal to give your child access to a weapon of destruction, a weapon that can kill people, when you know or have reason to know that that child is in close proximity with other people. And not only do you know that these instances that your child is displaying horrible tendencies towards hallucinations and other sort of instances of where they may be working out their own demons, that you send them to school. It's no different than sending a loaded weapon to school, and that's essentially what they did metaphorically here.
Trent, I just want to get you quickly on this because I want to talk to you about the Arbery sentencing too. One more thing. As I thought about this Ethan case today, hearing all of this, how is it that he's mentally competent to stand trial?
Well, we're not sure whether he's mentally competent to stand trial. Look, the standard for that, Joe, is does he know the consequences and the implications of moving forward in the trial?
So that's yet to be determined?
Is he able to tell the truth? And that is yet to be determined. And look, if I'm his lawyer, I'm going to set about having what's referred to as a mental health hearing to determine what his competency level is.
So the Arbery case today, we had sentencing and we knew life in prison was the given here. The only question, should they be eligible for parole? And only one in the end was granted that possibility, and that was the third person involved who was sort of driving the truck and actually taking the video. What is your thought on the sentencing today?
I wasn't surprised, Joe. Remember, Travis McMichael, the shooter, was guilty not just of the murder, but he was also found guilty of malice murder, to have done so with malice. So I wasn't surprised at all that the judge gave him 30 years, because essentially, under Georgia law, 30 years, you must serve on a life sentence. But what the judge did was he added another 20 years to that, which means, for all practical purposes, Travis McMichael will never be eligible for parole unless he's hence 50 years. The same thing with Greg McMichael. But I was a little surprised at the strategy in trial for Roddy Bryan. What I thought his lawyer should have done was he should have separated himself, distinguished himself from the other two early on in the case. He did a great job of doing that today in the sentencing, but that should have been the same kind of strategy that he employed throughout the trial. So I wasn't surprised by that. And given the fact that he had the least sort of culpability, he drove his car and he positioned his car in such a way that Aubrey couldn't escape. The judge said that his culpability, that his actions were a little different, distinguishable enough that he gave him 30 years, and he's going to be eligible for parole sometime in his 80s.
Well, there were powerful words from the judge today, including a moment of silence where he stayed silent for a minute to reflect just a portion of the amount of time that Ahmaud Arbery was on the run, the 5 minutes. Trent Copeland, again, it's always great to have you, criminal and civil litigation attorney. We appreciate the time. As always, enjoy the weekend.
I bet. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.